Now, Adele's assertion, the singer Adele, her assertion that she loves, quote, being a woman at last night's Brit Awards has sparked, well, I think it's probably fair to say, an inevitable row on social media. In her acceptance speech, the singer appeared to wade into the debate over gender politics. Adele said she was proud to have won as a female. The organisers had done away with categories for best male and female performers. Let's turn to the founder of Standing for Women. You get a clue in the title from where she's coming from, the use of the word women, not quite fully outlawed yet, at least not in this country. Kelly J. Keane joins us now, as you see, from Wiltshire. Thanks ever so much for joining us. What did you make of Adele's, can I call it an intervention? It felt like an intervention last night.
I was watching it, and I actually watched it because I've got teenage children, and I just said straight away, I was like, oh, she's just said she's a woman and a female artist. Isn't that exceptional? I think Twitter will go a little bit bonkers over this, because what we know in 2022, the only people that are allowed to say that they're proud to be women are actually men. And so it was wonderful. She is an absolutely staggering talent. And she very much is a woman. I'm sure she's had a very female journey as somebody in the music industry. So I knew that it was going to kick off. We know that the word woman is one that's much coveted by those that aren't women. And so, it was interesting to see it play out today.
Is young cancelable? I mean, when we think of I was going to say infamous tweet. It's not infamous. The famous tweet. Is it the one I mean, woman, from the best-selling author pretty much in the world, who then discovered that the people whose careers she'd launched didn't want anything to do with her anymore, that her publishers were pretty chary about getting involved in her. We've seen this happen before from somebody who's taken a position and said, actually, the word woman is fine to use. Can Adele be cancelled?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. Number one, I don't think Adele was meaning to say anything exclusionary, as much as I might like her to really assert boundaries around the words woman and female. I don't think that's what she's doing. I think she probably publicly would say that she's very trans inclusive. As for her being cancelable, I fear very much that she may retract and explain and apologise. I really, really hope she doesn't. Because actually, I think any woman should be allowed to say that a woman is an adult human female, and that females are different to males and men are different to women. And I think they should be perfectly valid things to say, like they were about 5 minutes ago.
Interestingly, our last guest in the last hour was saying, he put it very politely, but he essentially called me a silly old goat for not moving with the times. And actually, for the kids, it's, genderless Brits, that's all great. My teenage daughters really like Adele, and if Adele's assuming a position, I think I could advance an argument that says, she's helping to shape this argument, and not necessarily in the direction that our guest from an hour ago likes. I think what I'm trying to say in an old-fashioned way is she's a role model.
Yeah, I believe she is. And what's really lovely about Adele and actually Sam Fender, who also won awards, is they both have really solid working class roots and have got where they are through sheer talent and in a meritocracy that doesn't really seem to exist anymore in the arts. So I think that alone, the fact that she is such a power broker, and she didn't, she came into the fore not as a aesthetic sort of beauty standard, not a tiny little bit of a figure, but just sheer brute force and talent. And so I think she is a role model. I just hope that she takes that on board and she doesn't bow to the mob, because the mob will not relent. So it doesn't matter what apology she makes. In fact, it will be worse if she apologizes.
That's around the tactics of apology, that's a separate item, isn't it? Andy emails to say, we've got a big response on this. Andy says, if we go down the route of genderless events, then we will have the genderless Olympics soon. I think he stretches the point, but we know what he's getting at. Can you imagine the outcome of that? The men would, of course, beat the women in most events. It's complete nonsense. What do we say to those who will argue, but you know what, this is singing. It doesn't. A song's a song, whether it's sung by a man or a woman, doesn't matter. Let's just give her an award for the best song.
Well, I think Adele says it very well, doesn't she? That she's proud to be a woman and a female artist. I'm not sure, actually, in singing these days that it matters so much. I think the music industry still expects far more sort of sexualized contents from female artists than male artists. I think there is an argument to be had, and certainly a debate to be had about the pornification of pop music, especially for children and aimed at sort of young teenage girls. And so maybe we don't need genderless. I really hate that word. Maybe we don't need to forget that there are men and women, that sex actually exists when it comes to music. But as far as most things go, I mean, when we talk about young people thinking everything is fine and genderless, I would agree with them if we didn't have an epidemic of sexual assault in schools, and actually that those sorts of attitudes really do
Yeah.
affect girls far more than boys in a very, very negative way. Look, in 2018, I put a billboard up with the dictionary definition of the word woman, and that was taken down for hate speech. So I think Adele saying what she did last night was perfectly in keeping with the direction of travel.
What they can't take away from you, Kelly J. Keane, is the best home studio in Wiltshire, which you've still got. Thanks ever so much, as ever, for your time. Thanks a lot.